Everyone, V'lishalayim Yecho Berachamim Toshu V'siyishkoin V'sovoicho Kasher Dibarto V'lishalayim Berachamim toshuv v'siyishkoin v'sovoicho kasher dibarto uvenei yoiso b'kodoi yomeinu One of Shlomo Carlebach's most famous songs is the Mimkomcha, and there's a few versions of the Mimkomcha. So one version we sang here this morning already in Shul. So we're going to sing the version that most people know. Mimkomcha Malkeinu Dovi, if you could put up the words so you can see both the Hebrew and the English. It's a prayer to God that He should take us back to our homeland, and very appropriate, especially for tonight and tomorrow. Haimim koim chavo malkeinu sovoi fia v'sim loi chaleinu v'sim loi chaleinu ki mechakim אנחנו לא דידה דה 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 דידה דה דה הוי הוי דידה דה דה יא 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 דידה דה ay mosai tim loy betzion mekodoi meyom ereinu ay bekodoi meyom Soich Yerushalayim Yecho Ulenetzach netzochim ay 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 The story is told. By the way, I want to say, even though in Tisha B'Av you don't usually say hello, but we have a lot of people that are joining us online that either can't be here for different reasons. We have people that are in the hospital that are joining us through YouTube. So I want to say to them, for those who are watching from Sloan specifically, I want to wish them a refuah shlema to them and the family, and also to all our members who are not here tonight for a variety of reasons but are joining us online. We appreciate you being here. I want to share with you a short story that's told about a man that was looking to get a job, and he tried everything in the shtetl and nothing worked. So in the end, the wife says to him, listen, Yankel, go to the Rebbe. The Rebbe is smarter than all of us. He's going to tell you, he's going to find you a job. So he goes to the Rebbe. He says, I've tried everything. Maybe you could help me out. Get me some sort of job. The Rebbe says, look, all the general jobs in this town are taken. But I have one job for you, but you have to be open-minded. What's the job? He tells him, you have to go every day to the end of the town. Right at the end of the town, at the last house, you'll climb up. It's an empty home. You'll sit up in the attic, and you will look out for Mashiach. That's your job. So he looks at him. He says, I'm going to look out for Mashiach. What kind of, is that a real job? He says, yeah. Every day you'll get up, 8 in the morning, you'll be there, and that you'll take a binoculars, and you'll look out for Mashiach. So the guy says, now how much does it pay? So the Rebbe says, it pays 50 rubles a month. 50 rubles a month wasn't so much money, but it was more than he was bringing home already. So he says, fine, I'll start tomorrow. He goes home, and he tells his wife, listen, I got a job. What's the job? And he tells her, the Rebbe told me I'm going to go to the edge of the town. I'm going to go up to the second floor in the attic there. I'm going to look out for Mashiach. She says to him, what kind of job is that? Who ever heard of that? And how much does that job pay? He says, it pays 50 rubles a month. She says to him, 50 rubles a month? That's no money. What are you doing? He says to her, yes, but the job is steady. Said the Rebbe, the job of a Jew is to wait for Mashiach, not just to think that maybe he'll come in 1,000 years, but to believe that right now, as we're sitting here, right now in this shul, with all the people that are watching us on YouTube, that Bezrat Hashem, this Yontif, right now, this Tisha B'Av could turn to a Yontif. And before we go home, before you go back to Williamsburg tonight, Mashiach could come and bring us all to our homeland.
Isn't Williamsburg where Mashiach is?
That could also be.
That's why he's late.
Mishkan kevoidecho zevul bei sifateinu nachem bechazdecho.
A little more reverb.
Alamecho tzuvul leveinu Yoin Mishkan kevoidecho Zevu beis tifateinu Ay 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 ben David avdecho Ay 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 yovoy veyigal Ruach Hapeinu, Mashiach
Mashiach Hashem Ben David Avdecha Yavoy V'yigal Einu Ruach Apeinu Ruach Apeinu Mashiach Mashiach Hashem Yirachem B'chazdecha Alamecho Tzuboreinu Al Zion Mishkan Kevoidecha Zevul Beis Tifarteinu Yiboneh HaMikdash Tzion Teve Mavalei Shom Enoshi Shir Chadash Ovina Nona Mavalei Yorachman Hamikdash Yizborach Ve'yisaleh Al kois yayin molei Kviyikas Hashem Horachmon HaMikdash Yizborach Ve'yisaleh Al kois yayin molei Kviyikas Hashem.
I want to say our Rabbi Schneier has joined us. And Rabbi, I was saying before you came down that there's a lot of people that are watching us live on YouTube through our channel. But I want to share now that the Rabbi is here that this synagogue experienced a miracle this week. And I don't know how many of you were here on Shabbat, so you might have seen the bulletin. But really, what I would say, nothing short of a miracle, what happened here this week. The synagogue hosted, and not for the first time, a premiere from around the world. As you know, when you walk into the synagogue, you see pictures of the Pope's visit. There's other presidents. If you go into the rabbi's office, it's like a mini museum. You see all the great dignitaries that have been through this synagogue. But this week was different. This week, the Chancellor of Austria visited Parky Synagogue. And the reason why that's significant is because our rabbi sitting here, as a young boy, was chased out of Austria. And think about it, less than 80 years later, we came full circle. Not only is Rabbi welcome in Austria, but the chancellor of the very same country that drove him out came to this synagogue, sat in the rabbi's office taking advice from him on world issues. The rabbi took him into the main synagogue. We opened our Kodesh, and it was just a moment. I was looking at him and I was looking at the rabbi, and I was thinking to myself, what an experience. So yes, it's hard for us sitting here. We don't really connect. The Beis Hamikdash was 2,000 years old, 2,000 years ago. It's hard for a person to imagine. But here sitting with us, we have the rabbi who had this experience. The experience of being exiled and the experience of coming full circle. So I'd like to ask the rabbi to say something related to this, since this really was a very, very special moment. And as I give you the mic, Rabbi, let's begin maybe with the song Ani Mamin, right? The song that came out that we relate so much to the Holocaust. Of regardless of what happens, I believe that God will bring Mashiach and will get us out of all the troubles and pain that we're in.
Ani Mamin. Ani. Let's do it again. Exactly. Let's leave the reverb open till the end of the night. Thank you. Ani Mamin. Ani Mamin. Beyemuna, Beyemuna, Shleyema. Open up the other two mics. Bevias, Shragi. Hamoshiach, Bevias, Hamoshiach, Ani Mamin. Everybody together. Ani Mamin, Ani Mamin, Beyemuna, Beyemuna, Shleima. Oy bevias Hamoshiach, bevias Hamoshiach. Ani Mamin, v'yafal pi she'yismameya, im kol ze ani Mamin, im kol ze yachake loy b'chol yom she'yom. Ani Mamin, v'yafal pi she'yismameya, im kol ze ani Mamin, im kol ze yachake loy b'chol yom she'yovoi. Ani Mamin, Ani Mamin. Whoever knows this song, please join in. Yoy bevias Hamoshiach, Ani Mamin. Oy bevias Hamoshiach, Ani Mamin. One more time. Ani Mamin. B'yamuna she'lebeimo. Yoy bevias Hamoshiach, Ani Mamin. Oy bevias Hamoshiach, Ani Mamin. Oy v'yafal pi she'yismam
want to thank Cantor Benny for, again, the Ruach. Actually, setting the tone. As I said before, Al Naros Bovel Shambachinu, weeping and crying for the suffering and the karbonos the Jews encountered throughout the years. When you sang Ani Mamin, I couldn't help but close my eyes and see my grandparents, the rest of the family, marching into the gas chambers in Auschwitz. Ani Mamin, no doubt, they entered the gas chambers without giving up the emunah in Hashem. And many questions have been asked. When we read of all the horrible, tragic occurrences throughout the years on Tisha B'Av, Churban Rishon, Churban Sheni, Hitler authorizing the final solution on Tisha B'Av, expulsion from Spain, tragic history. The question has been asked, what about Hester Panim of Hashem? Has Hashem withdrawn? Has he withdrawn of guiding and guarding our destiny? And it's a legitimate question. But those of us who have the emunah, in spite the losses, we say the Shomer Yisrael, Lo yonim lo yishan, does not sleep, don't slumber. Yes, the problem is not that Hashem has withdrawn. Too often, assimilationists in our midst are withdrawing and not having Hashem in their daily lives. When you think of some of the younger generation that has no idea of Jewish history, of the sufferings, have no idea how Hashem has guided us, and we have seen, thank God, again, Yerushalayim Yir HaKodesh, we no longer have to weep. It's ours. It's the capital of Israel. After over 2,000 years of exile, Medinat Yisrael, Reshit, Geula, the beginning of the redemption. So, all of us who have the emunah, who have the faith, I can assure you, I speak from personal experience, Hashem doesn't withdraw. He does not withdraw. If we let him into our daily lives, he's there for us. And that's why I always say, even in the worst times, mina meitza korosiko, or noni b'mecha, Hashem li v'lo ira. That has been my emunah, and I know that all of you here share that emunah in Hashem, who is going to lead us for the Geula Shleim of Meheru B'Yomeinu. Amen ve'amen.
Mina meitzad korosiko avavavononi b'mechavko mina meitzad korosiko Avavavononi
To come up for a moment. Dr. Richard, I know a lot of people are watching online. They all know you because you always sing for us, Shalashudas, and on special occasions. I know Dr. Richard has prepared something special for tonight.
Cantor. Thank you, Rabbi Schneier. Thank you, Parky Synagogue. I'd just like to say that one thing we can practice on Tisha B'Av is to think of ways to become better people. It's not just the fasting, it's not just the refraining from other activities, it's really doing some soul searching. And if we can all become just a little bit better, we will make the whole world a lot better. And I know that Park East has done that for me. I want to thank Park East Synagogue in all my heart for that. Echa, Echa, oh, how can it be? Echa, 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 tragic, mournful day, Echa. Both our temples were destroyed, till this day we feel the void. How can it be, Echa? Yerushalayim, once teeming with life, now in ruins, engulfed in such strife. Hear our prayers, see our plight. Through the darkness shed your light, and rebuild the temple in its sight. Renew our days as of old, Yerushalayim of gold, and we won't have to ask, Echa. No, we won't have to ask, Echa.
Thank you. No, yo, 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 yo. Let's have the effects again.
Hashem Elokeinu B'yamecho Yisroel V'lizes v'yilo osom V'lizes v'yilo osom Oy 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 shey Rezei Hashem Elokeinu B'yamecho Yisroel V'lizes v'yilo osom V'liz v'yilo osom Oy 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 sheyei V'yoshei v'suavoidoli Devir b'yisecho Li devir b'yisecho V'yoshei v'suavoidoli Devir b'yisecho Li devir b'yisecho V'yishei Yisroel Usvil osom Meyayiro b'yavos gabeil Oy oy berotzoy nesil lerotzoy letomid Avodas Yisroel amecho V'yishei Yisroel Usvil osom Meyayiro b'yavos gabeil Oy oy berotzoy usil Lerotzoy tomid Avodas Yisroel amecho
I don't know if many of you know. Most of us, life is starting to get back to normal, Baruch Hashem, after what we went through in Corona with this pandemic. I don't know if anyone in this shul besides Benny knows what I went through. When Benny heard that I was almost up there, I was in the hospital. I had 106 fever, 78 oxygen level, double pneumonia. The third day that I was in the hospital, a team of doctors walked into my room and they said, Mr. Posen, you have bad news. I said, what's going on? They said, we tried everything. Nothing is working. At that moment, what does a yid do? When you feel that there isn't a doctor, there isn't anybody that you can rely your help on, that you can think that can help, what do? You connect to Shamayim. You feel there's nothing left for you, just your Father in heaven. So all you do is you raise your eyes to Hashem and you say, Ma'ayin Yava Yazri. And that's what I did. And sang that song. Baruch Hashem, sitting 12 months later, sitting again in Parky's Synagogue. This is Mamash 12 months. Next week, Shabbos Nachamu. I went to Cleveland, and that's where I got Corona. That's when I got sick. And next week is going to be a year. And I'm going to be making Mizrat Hashem a Sida Seidah. I couldn't make a Sida Seidah when I came out of the hospital because I wasn't available after my father who passed away from Corona. Why am I telling you these stories? Not to break your heart, Chaz v'Shalom. To let you know that there is such a time. We're all going through, Kal Yisrael is going through so much. We heard the stories of Miran. What happened in Eretz Yisrael, Lag Baima. We heard the story what happened now in Florida. We hear all the stories that are going on. I mean, it's insane, all these stories. What is left for a Yid to do? Only Emunah. If you believe in Hashem, and you believe that He is the one who is planning everything out, He is the one who is writing what should happen and what shouldn't happen, then you have no questions, and then you live better. I went to be Menachem Oval, the Rosenberg family, last week Thursday. So Shuli, his son, was sitting there and he tells me, what was my father's favorite song? And I had a zechia that I was in that house. I used to sing there a lot. They hired me, it was 3 or 4 years ago, for his birthday. One who passed away. And I said to him, your father's song that he asked on that night, the only song that he asked on that night was Ani Mame. A person who lived with so much emunah. And these special people, Hashem took away from us. So La'aliyah for these neshamas that never passed away, the tragic story of Florida, let's sing the old Animamin, the real old Auschwitz Animamin that we know that this is the song that our forefathers sang when they went in to the gas chambers. They sing the traditional Animamin. Ani mamin, ani
מאמין, אני מאמין, באמונה של אימו, בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין, בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין.
Everybody together.
אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין, באמונה של אימו, בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין, בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין. אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין, באמונה של אימו, בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין, באמונה של אימו, בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין, ואף על פי שישמח עם כל זה אני מאמין, עם כל זה אחר אלוהי, אחר אלוהי בכל יום שיבוא.
I want to say about what Chilu said, you know, over this year, I don't know how many of you used Zoom before COVID. How many people who knew what Zoom was before COVID? And suddenly now the whole world knows what Zoom is. And we learned in the shul, we learned, everyone in their own way learned how to, you know, use Zoom, use all these phone connections, kids that were in yeshiva, where the yeshiva doesn't allow Zoom, but everybody had to figure out technology somehow. And Chilu, I'm thinking to myself, how many events you and I and all of you did here in the shul, where the shul was closed, but we would come here, there was smachot, there was Kabbalah Shabbos that we did together, there was recordings, there was a concert that we recorded the whole concert and then showed it live. It was just amazing how we simply figured out a way to connect with people from afar. So one of the things I learned about Zoom is that people have no patience. I knew that before Zoom, but especially online, there's a Zoom fatigue. And there's like this perfect amount of time that people will stay on, and it's true for YouTube, etc. So I know the hour is late. We're going to sing a few more songs, but I want to share with you one short story that Chilu, I think you've heard before, but it's okay to do the Chazara, from Shlomo Carlebach. When I was a kid, I grew up in Manchester, England. And I remember one day, Shlomo came to visit our yeshiva. And it was, for us, yeshiva boys, like Lahavdil, Elif Havdalas, like the Satmar Rebbe, showed up. I mean, we couldn't get enough. The Shlomo Carlebach was coming, especially England, and you'll forgive me if you like England, but it's in Manchester especially, is the most godforsaken town any place in the world. It's dark, it's damp, it's not the place you want to be. So Shlomo Carlebach coming to town was a huge deal. And I was given the great cover that I could walk him from the hotel back to where he was, from the hotel to the yeshiva. And so as I'm walking him, I said to him, Shlomo, could you tell me a story, something that's not on the records? Now you think we're going back now 25 years. So it wasn't as popular now that you could get all the stories of Shlomo Carlebach. So he said, I'll share with you a story that happened to me then. We're talking about in 90, a few years back. So there was a time where you couldn't get into Russia, right? And if you went into Russia, let's say from the United States, you certainly couldn't carry any religious artifacts. And Shlomo Carlebach decided that he's going to Moscow and he's going to take a suitcase of tefillin and talis and sidurim, whatever they wouldn't have in Moscow, he would take with him and he would distribute it. And Shlomo said he spent a week in Moscow and clandestinely he gave out to people who he knew would need. He gave them tefillin and talis, etc. On the last day of his trip, as he's about to leave, somebody knocks on his hotel room door. And the way he explained it was, in Moscow, there was no room service, there was no housekeeping. If someone knocked on the door, it was not a good sign. He opens the door thinking that the KGB are there. But instead he sees a little boy. He says, maybe the boy is 12, maybe 13 years old. And he says to Shlomo, bist du the Rebbe? You're the Rebbe? Now you got to understand, if you knew what Shlomo Carlebach looked like, I mean, he wasn't exactly the kind of Rebbe that we're used to, but I guess in Moscow, he could be the Rebbe. So he says, yeah. So the boy says, you have tefillin? So Shlomo says to him, you know, I gave away my last pair of tefillin. He says, I will tell you what, in 6 months I'll be back, and the first pair of tefillin that I give, I'm going to give you. And the boy starts crying. He says, no, I need tefillin now. So what's so urgent? He said, in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be bar mitzvah. And for the last year, we live on the outskirts of Moscow. Every Sunday morning, my mother sends me out the house to walk to where my teacher is. Every time I leave the house, my mother blesses me because it could be the last time that I will see her. If she gets caught, if I get caught. And I've studied, and my Rebbe taught me how to put on tefillin. And we heard rumors in the Jewish rumor mill that you're coming to Moscow. So I knew that I was going to get my tefillin from you. And now you're here and you don't have tefillin. Shlomo thinks to himself, he says, hold on. He goes to the room where he's staying. He goes to the back, goes into a suitcase. He takes out the tefillin. And he says, you don't understand. This tefillin, he says to the boy, that I'm giving you, have a lot of significance for me. This is not just another pair of tefillin. It's my tefillin. It is the only thing that I have for my grandparents who were killed in Dachau. This tefillin. But I'm giving it to you because where I come from, I could get another pair. I just want you to promise me one thing, and that is that you will wear this tefillin every day of your life besides Shabbos and Yom Tov. The boy's a little boy, you know, he says thank you. He doesn't understand the deep significance, and he leaves. And 2 minutes later, there's another knock on the door. And Shlomo says if the first knock on the door was not the KGB, it was not the KGB, this time for sure. And he opens the door and the boy's back. And he says to him in Yiddish, Ich darf a yarmulke. I need a yarmulke, right? Shlomo says to him the same thing. I've given out my last one. So the boy looks at him, he says, I could put on tefillin without having a yarmulke? So Shlomo takes the little boy, takes off the yarmulke off his head, puts it on him. He says, I put my hands on the boy and I gave him a birchas kohen, and Yevarech Hashem Yishmercha, Hashem should watch over you. And the little boy left. Okay. And now Shlomo is on his way back to Israel. But at that time, there were no direct flights. He had to fly through Heathrow. And in Heathrow, in London, he switched flights for the flight to Tel Aviv. He gets on the flight to Tel Aviv from London. And if you've ever flown to Israel or anywhere, you know that we Orthodox Jews have an allergy. Like the moment the plane takes off, we have to daven. We can't daven before, after. We have to daven, right? So right away the plane takes off, they're looking for a minyan. And Mazel would have it, there's only 8 or 9 people. Now, think about this. Shlomo Carlebach, if you ever knew what he looked like, you know, his hair was flowing, his shirt was only basically half buttoned up. He did not exactly look like the person that you would want to take for the minyan. And they didn't recognize him. There was a very nice Hasidic crowd there, and they walk up and down, they're looking at you Jewish. Nobody even asks him. And he starts to realize that they're waiting for a minyan. So he says to himself, okay, I don't have yarmulkes, I'll borrow, but I'm not going to make a minyan. I mean, that doesn't make sense. He goes to the back of the plane, the galley there where they're standing, and he says, no, Yidalach, holy brothers, as Shlomo used to say, let's start davening. One of the guys looks at him and he says to him, mister, maybe before you go to davening, shouldn't you put a yarmulke on? Don't you know the basics? Right? Before you get up to be part of a minyan, where's your yarmulke? And this, my friends, is the lesson that I learned from Shlomo Carlebach. He said, I put my arm around him and I said, my holy brother, if you only knew why I don't have a yarmulke, you would let me daven exactly like this. What happens is, said Shlomo, we meet people in life, even here, sitting here in this room, right? So we judge by nature. We all judge each other, the way we look, the way we are, but nobody knows what journey a person went through, right? He says, when you meet a person, don't only think about the person you see right in front of you. Think about their history, what their parents and grandparents had to sacrifice in order for them to be here today. That's the story of Tisha B'Av, right? Sinas Chinam. The nature of a person is to judge another person. So we need to come together tonight, tomorrow, as we get up in Yetz Hashem tomorrow after Chatzos, with love for one another, with acceptance and with understanding. And if there's one thing I would say, Chilu, from the whole COVID experience that I felt, certainly in the hospitals here, it brought people together because you couldn't have any visitors in the hospital. But what you could do in certain COVID wards, when you passed the 7-day mark of 14 and they thought that you weren't going contagious, you could walk around in the ward. And people told me, even members of the shul, a woman told me that she'd never spoken to a Hasidic woman in her life, right? She lives in Manhattan. It's what, 20 minutes to Williamsburg? But because there was no one else, people started to talk and they connected and they became friends. So the onus is upon us. We sit here tonight with you and all the people that are watching to say we have to look out for one another. Lemana Chai V'Re'ai was one of Shlomo's favorite songs, right? Because of my brothers and friends, I speak peace to you. And that's our prayer tonight on Tisha B'Av.
Lemana Chai V'Re'ai, Lemana Chai V'Re'ai, Adabrono, Adabrono, Shaloimo, Lemana Chai V'Re'ai, Lemana Chai V'Re'ai, Adabrono, Adabrono, Shaloimo, Oy leman beis Hashem Eloheinu, Avak shoto oilo, leman beis Hashem Eloheinu, Avak shoto oilo, da 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 dam, ay da 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 da, ay da 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 da, da 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 da, ay da 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 da, ay da 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 da, oy da 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 da.
You want to do the Chazanas Memkomcha?
Okay, ask him.
First time that I saw Benny was at a Chazanas concert. And we just, when was it we released the Memkomcha,
Latest
the latest one?
last few months.
Past couple of months, if you go on YouTube, you'll see there's a piece, Memkomcha, which it's known that it's Reb Shleimelis Hanigin, Shleimelis Chazonas, and Benny does it beautiful. It's done Dovi Tesler's on keys on that piece. Let's do this together. I, ma, breathe a little, give me some harmony. I, ya, ma,
Samidos, Mimeira Veyameinu, V'zeichel Keinu, V'zoyra Selecha. V'monel Samidos, Mimeira Veyameinu, V'zeichel Keinu, V'zoyra Selecha.
Boom, boom, boom.
Samidos, Mimeira Veyameinu, V'zeichel Keinu, V'zoyra Selecha. V'monel Samidos, Mimeira Veyameinu, V'zeichel Keinu, V'zoyra Selecha.
I want to thank everyone for coming. And Bezrat Hashem, next year we will not do this, not on Zoom, not on YouTube, not in person. We'll do it in Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh. I wish everybody an easy fast, both those that are here and both those that are online. And thank you to my friends, Chilu also, and all of you for always coming and supporting Park East. We should have B'Seres Tovis, an easy and meaningful fast to everyone.
Amen.
Samidos, Mimeira Veyameinu, V'zeichel Keinu, V'zoyra Selecha. V'monel Samidos, Mimeira Veyameinu, V'zeichel Keinu, V'zoyra Selecha.
Thank you, everyone.